Cafe. I just spent 2 hours trying to figure this out, trying to do this training session, and I don't know if it worked. Where are we at? Poets Cafe, rock and roll. That's the one show that invites you, the viewer, to come on and be on the show. Get a paper, a piece of pencil. Jim Capello, well, he's going to like put up a thing to tell you how you can get. There it is on the set right now. You can see it. Write to us, and you can be sitting here next to my friend here. Right here. Over here. That's good. Hey, rock and roll. Richard Moore, how you doing today, brother?
Good to see you.
Good, good. You know, you've been on the show before, and you always got interesting stuff you're doing.
Uh-huh.
You told me you did a lecture on frost yesterday.
That's right, yeah. Out at Framingham College. And I visit people's classrooms sometimes, and I used to know Frost a little bit, and had some interviews with him when he was still alive. I don't talk to him after he's dead. Yeah,
good. You know who's a great guy is Donald Hall, but I think he's been miffed at me. I gave Donald Hall my autograph one time, and I think I overstepped my boundaries a little bit.
Yeah.
Updike, John Updike was much more cooler about the situation.
Oh, was Updike on this program?
No, but I gave him my autograph also, and he appreciated it. I could tell him. You know what I mean? Because, it doesn't make any difference. Poetry is art. Either we're all artists or we ain't.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
In fact, I seen Jay Perenni is going to be at You Pronounce the Word in Salem next month. I think it's the 7th, doing a Frost lecture.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. The Athenaeum.
God, I'd love to see you too, because I did see you do your Frost lecture at Harvard. Learning in retirement, right?
Learning in retirement, all those old people, and there you were, and you came out of.
I'm old too. I don't know how to tell you.
We're all getting.
That's why I got the gray hair.
The best of us,
Yeah, you know what I mean. But it doesn't make any difference.
No. We get sillier as we get older, and that makes up for it.
You also do agape in Boston.
That's right, agape. Yeah.
Agape. Yeah.
Agape. It means brotherly love. It's at a church, and it's on Copley Square. And it's right above a restaurant, and you go up, and everybody's talking about poetry on the 3rd floor.
How long have you been doing that?
4 years now, but the group has been around. It used to be called the New Poets Collective, and that's been around, I think, for about 20 years now, and it's still got some of the old original members.
That was done, John Geraputo?
Tony Geraputo.
Yeah, he did. I think he was a Harvard man. And he kissed me on the cheek once, and my whole life flashed before my eyes.
Ooh.
I don't know what time he kissed me on the cheek. You figure you're in big trouble, even if he is the godfather of poetry, you know what I mean?
Well, they say that agape used to stand for, it was an acronym, Anthony, and there's the A, Geraputo, there's the G, author, poet, etc. That's what I get.
Well, I hope sometimes some of our viewers can be out there to come into Boston. There's so much stuff going on. I remember like 10 years ago, there'd be like 2 or 3 listings under writers and readers.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's like, the list is
growing. The listings, yes.
It's incredible.
They've gotten very good.
Incredible.
I think there's somebody good in the Globe who's doing the listings, and they're getting very efficient at it. It all depends on. It depends on funny little things like that.
A lot of good, interesting educational stuff's going on out there now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, you don't have to go to college to get educated. That's the one thing I try to thump on. So I love, I have a Harvard education. I shouldn't tell people that, but I try to keep it a secret. I was trying to do Mother Harvard a favor, and she wouldn't tell anybody that she ever met me. But anyways.
Yeah, I went to Yale, but, I
don't swear at me, please.
I sometimes think of college as a place where you go to keep your ignorance. Okay.
What years were you at Yale?
I was the class of 50.
Wow, that is great.
That's a long time ago.
My mentor was the class of 50 from Brown.
in those days you walked down, I remember, Yale was characterized for me, I was walking down a path, and when you sneeze, it's a good feeling. It's a little bit like a rise of feeling, and I sneezed, and I felt good, and this guy was coming up on the opposite walk, and he looked at me as though I'd done something obscene in public to enjoy my sneeze. That's how bad Yale was in those days.
I think they're still running the country. I can tell you that, Richard.
I'm afraid they are.
Yeah, you brought some very interesting people.
Oh yeah, they're
tonight.
very interesting people. Let me tell you, should I tell you about them a little bit?
Yeah, excellent.
Because Rena Espaillat, she won a big prize, the T.S. Eliot Prize it's called, and they gave her $1,000, and they brought her, and they published her book right away, her second book. And she also won a National Sonnets Prize, for a magazine called The Formalist Magazine. So Jan Schreiber, he has his own company locally, and he's published a couple of books of poetry as well. And he's got a new book coming out, and so these are hotsy-totsy people.
Well, I'm going to get up and I'm going to introduce Rena Espaillat. Well, 1 second here. Let me jump up on the stage, folks. That's the great thing. This is our show. We can do anything we want. I can see everybody. Rena, would you like to come up, please? I can see this might be a little bit low for her. Yeah, hi. Could you step right up to the mic? Is that?
I'm a short one.
Okay, excellent. Could you tell us where you're from? That we didn't really.
I was born in the Dominican Republic, and I've been in the United States since the age of 7, so I'm completely bilingual. And I write in both languages, most of the time in English, but occasionally in Spanish as well.
Yeah,
and I
Spanish
do translations. Yeah, it is
Yeah,
wonderful.
there's so much Latin in Spanish.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's great. And where do you live today?
I live in Newburyport. My husband and I have been living in Newburyport since 1990, and we love it. We love this whole area, and there are so many wonderful poets up here.
Yeah, why don't you read 2 or 3 or 4 pieces for us,
Sure.
and I'll step out of the way. Thank you.
I'm reading from my second book, which Richard Moore was kind enough to talk about. This is called Where Horizons Go, and it's from New Odyssey Press, and this is the one that won the T.S. Eliot Award. Now, a lot of my poetry is about family, about the people I love and the things I do every day. And this one is about very simple experience. I came out of the supermarket and I found that my son's car was parked next to mine, but I didn't see him anywhere. So it's that experience that got me thinking about other things, sort of metaphysical things. It's called Almost. I peer inside it to make sure, and yes, this is your car beside mine in the lot, your jacket on the seat, your children's mess of blankets and stuffed animals. I spot a letter to be mailed, a shopping list. Not spotting you, at last I drive away, framing my joke. How cleverly you missed lugging your mother's bags on shopping day. And think how easily, by blindest chance, this cell or that could have flicked elsewhere, failed to clasp in that first moment of the dance that life begins with. How you could have sailed out of all possibility, downstream, lost to my flesh forever like a dream. And this is a different member of my family. This is my mother, who had Alzheimer's disease, and she spent the last few years of her life up in Newburyport with us. But before she died in 1994, she had lost a great deal, as Alzheimer's will do. It took away a great deal of her personality, including her speech. Her speech, which had been beautiful and clear and entertaining and very intelligent, she began to be tangled up with words and could not get the right word out when she wanted it. So this is called Song. From hare to horse to house to rose, her tongue unfastened like her gait, her gaze, her guise, her ghost, she goes. She cannot name the thing she knows. Word and its image will not mate. From hare to horse to house to rose, there is a circle will not close. She babbles to her dinner plate. All gaze and gaunt as ghost she goes, smiling at these, frowning at those, smoothing the air to make it straight. From hare to horse to house to rose. She settles in a thoughtful pose, as if she understood her fate, her face, her gaze, her ghost. She goes downstream relentlessly. She flows where dark, forgiving waters wait. From hare to horse to house to rose, her gaze, her guise, her ghost she goes. Well, on to something a little more cheerful than that. I have a couple of daughters-in-law, and I love them both dearly. One of them is up here in Georgetown, and she's a great baker. She's a wonderful cook, and she bakes like a dream. And her ancestry happens to be English and Scottish. And I thought of her when I first met her as a descendant of the former enemies of my family, because as a Dominican, of course, my background is Spanish, and I was thinking, my goodness, this girl had ancestors who was dying to kill some of mine, and I'm sure that the compliment was returned, and yet here we are with her children being my grandchildren, and how wonderful it is. So this is called Bread. My daughter-in-law is baking bread for dinner. The smell of it arabesques through the house like music and out to the spring-damp lawn where crocuses rear their helmets of mauve steel from underground. She wipes the dusting of flour from round arms speckled with a faint mottling of freckles, peach-colored rose, smooths the silk of her auburn hair. We set the table, her grandmother's blueberry bowl, my mother's crystal. I picture, as in cartoons, our forebears, tense on opposite sides of the channel, 1588, Renaissance script in bubbles above their heads, Spanish war cries, English curses, the Great Armada. Remote in their rusty passions now as in armor, perhaps they dreamed us, but they were like us, living, afraid of the cannon, afraid the enemy's eyes would follow them into death as deep as forever. Blessed be time that closes all eyes, that rouses flowers. Blessed be law that molds the dust of soldiers into the bones of daughters, that kneads old strangers into the flesh of children like braided challah. And I will, how much time do I have? 2 more? Okay. I'm moving backward in time now to my father, who was, of course, Spanish-speaking, and who kept me bilingual by telling me, inside the door, only Spanish. Outside the door, speak English. But no mixing, please. You have to have both languages, one out, one in. So I grew up that way. And I call this poem Bilingual Bilingue. My father liked them separate, one there, one here, allá y aquí, as if aware that words might cut in two his daughter's heart, el corazón, and lock the alien part to what he was, his memory, his name, su nombre, with a key he could not claim. English outside this door, Spanish inside, he said, y basta. But who can divide the world, the word, mundo y palabra, from any child? I knew how to be dumb and stubborn, testaruda. Late in bed, I hoarded secret syllables. I read until my tongue, mi lengua, learned to run where his stumbled. And still the heart was one. I like to think he knew that, even when, proud, orgulloso of his daughter's pen, he stood outside mis versos, half in fear of words he loved but wanted not to hear. And I'll end with a poem about poetry, in a way, because it's titled Why Publish, which is a question that I've actually had people ask me. They say, well, if you write for love, writing is like all the arts, it's done for love. If you write for love, why do you bother sending the stuff out? Wouldn't it be just as good if it sat in a drawer? Why publish? So this is my answer to that. Dusty and brown on some forgotten shelf a century hence, or two, let dreams be grand. This wry and slanted gloss upon myself has slipped into some stranger's browsing hand. A woman, maybe, growing old like me, or a young man ambitious for his name, curious about my antique prosody, but pleased to find our motives much the same. He cannot know, nor she, what this one life from the late 20th craved or cost or found. He will forget my name. But mother, wife, daughter has struck a chord, sings from the ground a moment to his ear, as now to yours, for what is ours in common and endures. Thank you.
I'd like to thank you very much for being on the show. And after hearing you read, I can tell you why you're winning prizes.
Oh, well,
thank you very much. We'll be right back after this. Don't go away.
We're all individuals. We want to do different things, go different places. That's why Media One designed an interactive broadband network that lets you be, well, individual. Even people you think would be the same use it in completely different ways. To her, it's all business.
Okay, everybody just tighten up a little bit.
To him, it means learning about the Tyrannosaurus, the Stegosaurus, or the Athinkosaurus.
Look at that!
And to him, it's the way to check out the seats. Before committing to the perfect season ticket. As we've noticed at Media One, like father, absolutely nothing at all. Like son. Media One, this is broadband. This is the way.
1976, George Cisneros had a stroke. 1990, Stanley Monroe had a stroke. 1982, George Vavilas had a stroke. But stroke didn't mark the end of their lives or their lifestyles. Find out the warning signs of stroke from your American Heart Association. Because the sooner your symptoms are recognized and treated, the faster you'll get back into the swing of things.
There's a naval battle being fought on land by forces armed only with commitment and compassion. Because every day, Navy volunteers combat homelessness, hunger, loneliness, and illiteracy by initiating community programs that touch people's lives. And while their exploits aren't honored with medals, it's hard to imagine a more moving tribute.
Rock and roll, we're back. Hey, you see, I got my promotion anyways. I'm a two-media man here now. Whoops, we still got it here. Can we see that? What's number one? Media is number one. Now, I'd like to bring up my friend Jan Shriver. Come on, Jan. Come on up there. Yeah, you know, step right up. Don't be... Yeah, hi. Good golly. Right? Yeah, I didn't get any information, really. You're from?
I'm from Brookline.
Brookline. How long you been there?
And I've lived in Brookline since the early 70s.
Wow.
So,
and what do you write? I'm excited here.
What do I write? Short poems. Short poems in meter, and for the most, not always rhyming, but almost always in meter.
Oh, yeah, it's interesting. It's very interesting. How long have you been writing?
How long? Oh, since I was in my very early 20s.
Wow.
But I don't write steadily. I write some of the time and run a company the rest of the time. So it's
yeah, I believe when you're not writing, you should be studying. You know what I mean? That's how artists get to be artists. They keep, like people go all over the world just to look at something so they can do something. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. So, and what else do you do besides?
I run a software company.
Yeah, wow, that's pretty hard stuff.
Well, it's a little different from poetry. But.
Yeah, it's good mind. That's why you can write in meter, though. That's.
Maybe.
My friend, I want to say I howl, but my friend over there, Richard Moore, always says I write in rant. But I'll let you prove, okay?
Okay.
Thank you, my friend.
Well, as I was saying, I do write occasionally in spurts, and every so often I have a chance to do a stretch of work. So at that point, I feel as if I need to get reacquainted with the art of poetry, and I sort of celebrated that reacquaintance a while back with a poem which treats poetry as a woman, and we call her Poesy. So this is a poem called Re-Encountering Poesy. Hello, almost stranger. I know I've been delinquent, business pressures and all, but not a day goes by that I don't think of you. It's not the same, I know, as being with you, or in you, or you in me. I pore over old photographs of us together. We were a couple others used to envy, how we danced. And seeing you now, I feel the fires spring up once more, and I am eager, bashful, the way we both remember. There's quite a lot at stake. Don't walk on by, but stay and chat a moment. Say, how about a cup of coffee? I know a little place around the corner. Come, just for old time's sake. Well, you know what happened next. More poems get written, and this is a very small one. A number of these were set, or written and set, on an island in Maine, Vinyl Haven. This one's called One Crow Sorrow. Yellow chair, foggy air, at the landing, sit and stare. Engines shake, widening wake, regret, explain, excuse, forsake. Gulls wheel low, and the crow, you had your moment, let it go. Okay, here's another one set in the same area. This is called The Cormorants. I learned after I wrote it that the cormorant is sometimes called the lawyer bird. And I had something like that in mind as I was writing it, so you may be able to see where the poem is going with that phrase in mind. Black and sleek as steely-eyed deacons, ascetic and aloof, the cormorants disdain the jostling waves, riding peaks and troughs, placid as flat irons. One suddenly upends and disappears a full minute or more, some 50 yards away emerging. Praying and gorging, they float fastidious, always unruffled, unperturbed by appetite. Though half submerged, they do aspire. Persuaded finally into flight, they gather speed and skip tiptoe on wave tips like flat stones flung sidearm from the shore, wings flailing. Full bellies, when they would be light, belie the anorexic pose, rob them of grace. With difficulty they enter heaven, rise and take dominion, running unopposed. I also write once in a while for entertainment, short poems, kind of with punchlines called epigrams. And I'll read a couple of those. They tend to be irreverent and sometimes raunchy. This one's called Humility. I thought my first book not so bad, until the Times engaged a lad to lacerate it on page 9. Casting my pearls before benign obtuseness was a clever trick. Every ego needs a prick. Here's another one called My Love is Like a Camel. You know, in the Renaissance, people had what they called Renaissance conceits, which was kind of an outlandish comparison very often between anything and anything else that was rather remote. So this is My Love is Like a Camel. She rations wet delights. One hump she needs to travel through 6 long desert nights. The 7th brings oasis, tall palm and grassy hill. When we come to refresh us, oh, then she drinks her fill. Okay, back on the island setting, here's a poem called Naked on the Island. Peace in the house, and in the distance a high wind. Move in the web of memory, neither bound nor free, hearing the foghorn and an underlying sound. Beyond the porch, rock. Beyond the rock, water. Beyond the water, water. Water and the void beyond the rock, beyond water, beyond words. Surely it won't be long. Touch hands, lie still, listen to the rise and fall of breaths racing through the night. I'll read one last poem. This is kind of a love poem. It's called Acoustics. The harpsichord releases sounds of crystalline, rapid decay. They are like love that fast surrounds the astonished sense, then falls away, unless the hands that gave them voice renew them in another range, so that the act of willful choice makes constancy while moments change. Thus, when I loved you yesterday, that might have seemed the end of it. But you gave answer to my play and made sure I would not forget. Measure for measure, love for love, this instant's born where that one dies, we are bound to the learning of the unknown song we improvise.
Whoa, let me thank you very much for being on the show, dude. Rock and roll. Thank you, my friend. Yeah, I don't want to wreck the show, but somebody asked me to do something special for them, and we're going to have, like, Richard Moore on the next show, so don't get lost next time, next week, next time, next same channel. Richard Moore will be on. But anyway, it's like my son Sean is working in a used car dealership, and so I'm going to do this, like, for him and for somebody else. Whoa, come on in, step right in. You come to the right car dealer. We got the car for you. This is a 1999 Retaliation Deluxe. Yes, sir, man, this car is not like any other wimp cars out on the street. No, sir, this car has got class. This car is the car you've been looking for. Take a look at this car. Remember back in 1985 you bought a car and you said you were going to drive it till the wheels fell off, and in about 1992 you got really soft and you said, oh, I got to get rid of that car and get another car because that car isn't going to run right, and you sold it for next to nothing, and you bought another one that's been nothing but trouble since you bought it, and the other guy's riding around in the car you traded in, he's still riding around, and you're making payments and the other car won't even run, and you say, he's ripped your car off. That's what you figure. Well, this 1999 Retaliation Deluxe ain't going to let nobody do nothing like that to you. This car, man, this car is special. This car is special. When you trade it in after 5 years, when you roll up the windows, they don't quite keep the water out. So whenever you sit in the seat, you always get wet. Yeah, this car is great, man. And the cigarette lighter, man, it doesn't ever really light anything. It's great. If you don't hold it, it pops out and falls on the floor. And if you hold it all day, it only gets the cigarette that smolders. No, this car, man, they are not going to be happy when they buy this car after you trade it in. They're going to wish you kept it, but you don't care. You're going to be riding around a brand new 1990, whatever it was, brand new Retaliation Deluxe. This car's got features, man. You go over a bump and the dashboard falls down open. You know what I mean? Everything falls out. It is great. See the rear view visor here? Every time they sit there, man, it falls down. You got to put it up, it falls down. You go over a bump, it falls down. Then you go over a bump, it don't fall down. It makes you miserable. It is great. The rearview mirror never stays in focus. This car, man, has got the greatest things that ever going. They're going to curse the day that they ever bought it, and you're going to be riding around happy in your Retaliation Deluxe. I'll tell you, in this car, after 8 years, the door handles don't stay on. They fall off. Then they can't have to crawl through the window. You don't care. And finally, after 9 years, they close the hood after checking the oil, which it uses all kinds of oil, and the back bumper falls off, but you don't care. You're just going to be riding by in your new Retaliation Deluxe. Good luck. Rock and roll. We're going to have to wrap up the show, get a paper, a piece of pencil, and we're going to tell you how you can be on the show, because this is the show that asks you, the viewer, to be on.